Hey you! Yes you! Are you a nostalgia freak? Do you yearn for a simpler time? Then the WOC Archive is the place for you. We've got footage from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Culled from an old tape trader's collection bought off Craigslist. You'll find obscure and lost TV, news, interviews, music, sports, and everything in between. And it's all with original commercials. Every day a new tape, every day a new adventure. Subscribe today to the WOC Archive.
You got it all wrong. Mr. Trumbull's under arrest for a felony.
Excuse me, I'm Mrs. Trumbull. Do you know where my husband is?
He's in the booking room right over there.
Just empty your pockets, please,
I
sir.
was with my daughter.
Are you all right?
Sir, can I have a business address, please? Yes, 2107 Doral in Glenview.
Stand still, sir. Face front. Thank you.
All right, right this way, sir. Joe, would you call my automobile late?
Yeah.
Let me have your right thumb. This is very embarrassing. I've never been in trouble in my
Index
life.
finger, please.
You're allowed one telephone call. If you wish to call your attorney, you may.
Your Dick's
It's at
number.
home. I'll call
Right this way, sir.
Yes, please call him.
I will.
Okay, let's go.
And I'll need your belt and your shoes.
Why? There must be some kind of a mistake, officer. I'm not a criminal.
In here.
It was an accident. I didn't mean to start a fire.
If you're guilty of starting a forest fire, even accidentally, you'll pay for it.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the WOC Archive live stream. Tonight we have a rather somber event planned for you. Originally I had planned to play some failed pilots, or rather I was going to play a failed TV movie that was supposed to be a show but didn't get to be a show because it's September and we usually do failed pilots.
Like, what was the pilot?
Oh, it's called The Annihilator.
Imagine if a strange force attacked your city. Imagine if its power possessed the woman you love. Move over, Terminator. Here comes the Annihilator. Monday.
It's basically the Terminator.
Right.
But sadly, my dad passed away. Now it's been 3 weeks. It's a really weird world. It's a weird feeling. It's a lot of emotions. And I thought that, what better way to work this out and maybe work out some of the things that I've been feeling than to talk about him here and show a marathon of his favorite show, which is MASH.
But I'm here to sidetrack that as much as possible, so to
Yeah.
keep things on the positive for everybody.
Yes.
So
we'll
it's
try.
my usual trouble will be here.
We'll try our best to keep things positive. I'm not super weepy about it anymore. I've had time to process it. It's a crazy loss, and it's not something that I would recommend to anyone. But I'm something that we're all gonna have to go through. It sucks. I loved my dad very much, and I miss him a whole lot. And I wish that I could tell him that once again, because, like many waspy families, we didn't have that relationship where I would necessarily say I love you as much as I think I wish I could have. So, just
Old school
yeah.
dads.
Yeah, you know how it is. My dad, he was born in the 40s, 1946. He lived through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, a lot of change. He worked for the Ministry of Natural Resources as a forest firefighter for years. In fact, he started the first year that the ministry kind of existed the way that it does now. And he worked his way up into that field and retired, and then taught forestry for years. And then retired from that, and he and my mom traveled, and they had a great life. And yeah, it's so strange to think of him as being gone. It doesn't feel real. It's very surreal. But the nice thing is that he isn't gone. He still lives in me. You'll see photos of him when he's about my age, and you go, okay, well, yeah, obviously that's Morgan's dad, because I look exactly the same. So I have all these photos, and I have home movies, and I have some television specials that my dad was a part of, or that he was on, talking about forestry. So I thought that it would be a great opportunity to highlight some of that. He did watch our show from time to time, Adam. Every so often, yeah, I know it makes me a little nervous too, thinking about that. But every so often I get like a random message from him, and he be responding to something that happened like 20 minutes into the show, and I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I go back and go, oh, right, okay. Because I almost always forget what we've talked about after I've edited this so that it's just gone. But yeah, he would watch the show, so he supported us and he supported what we were doing, which is pretty cool. Even though I don't think he necessarily understood what we were doing.
I can relate with that because I'm thinking the only time my dad would never watch this, but the time that he saw us do the live show, because I dragged him out there, and his classic response was, it seemed okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had the same reaction though when you saw my dad. Was we got there, you're like, oh, there's an older couple there. They're your parents? I'm like, no, those aren't my parents. And then they walked in behind me, and you're like, oh, these are obviously your parents. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could tell.
Yeah. I think the only time that I met your parents would be your wedding.
Yes. Yeah. You met my dad at the wedding. You met both my parents, obviously.
Yeah.
And well, just like you know, your dad saying that it was, you know, it was okay. My dad, his response to the wedding was, as he was leaving, he said, good day, good venue. There you go. That's what I got.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's pretty good. That's a pretty emotional response from my dad. So, you know, I got it. So there you go.
I mean, I could get that concept when you just told me his age. The fact that you are 5 years younger than me, but your dad is 5 years older than my dad.
Yeah.
So there's a generation gap forever there that we won't bother to understand.
No, I do not necessarily understand the generational gap that my dad, or the time that my dad lived in. But you know, I definitely feel like I know that I'm his son, and the way that I react to things and the way that I do things. He never ever really understood this whole tape thing. But the esoteric obsession that I have for this thing is the same obsessions that he had for whatever his esoteric thing was. So, I mean, like, we were doing the same thing, just different ways. It's funny. I mean, that's parents, though. They never completely understand the things that you're doing, no matter how many times you try to explain it to them. But he watched, and that's what's really awesome. And you know,
that's a big sign of it, though. If they don't understand, but they do support, so many people don't get that. Yeah,
I mean, like, he was huge for me when I was growing up, and helping me with my film stuff. Like, he would, you know, would drive me around to things and take me here and take me there, because I didn't have a license at the beginning when I started making movies. So he'd take me places, and he'd take my friends places, and like, we'd all crowd into his car, and he'd wait for us to shoot whatever stupid nonsense we were shooting. And I'm sure that he didn't give two shits about the specifics of what we were doing, but he cared enough to know that this was important to me, and he wanted to be there and to support that. And that's awesome. And I'm forever grateful for that. And that's something that I've always felt. Like in high school and growing up, you know, he was always there to listen to the things that I was interested in, even though he didn't necessarily understand them. And I hope that I can do the same thing for my kid. And whatever his or their inanities will wind up being. His kids are inane. But so I thought, you know,
I'm still inane.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's okay. You know what? Let's be inane together.
Insane in the inane.
Yeah, right. There you go. So I thought, I cut together some stuff. So I went through the family movie archive. I grabbed a couple of photos and stuff, and I cut this together. So you're going to get to see me as a baby. This was all filmed on October 9th and October 10th of 1985, which would have been my 1 year birthday, my 1 year, or first birthday, and this was the party.
I've said it before that deep down, if you could make this show into just having people come over to your house and you showing slides, you're that guy.
You're not wrong, and this is my opportunity to do that, and you can't say shit about it. So there you go. So here we go. Here's some family movies. Maybe.
That looks interesting. Come on, sweetheart. Look.
Oh, I thought they were going to pick up a cat, but no, it's you.
No, it's just me.
Oh. What have we got here?
Man, this room, seeing this room, like, this was the living room that I grew up in. The television's just around the corner there where I sat and ate cereal and watched G.I. Joe at. There's my dad.
The largest nummy in the world in your mouth there. I thought you had like some corn in your mouth.
So that's my dad when he was a kid. Or he'd be in his 20s there.
Yeah.
And he went to China when he was working for the Ministry of Natural Resources. So
He's the one in the middle, right?
Yeah, he's the one in the middle. Yes. Very good. Here's my parents sometime in the 90s.
Your mom with her eyes closed
I
in the
know.
photo.
I really love that photo. It's a great photo. Here's me and my dad. You can see where I get my style from.
Yep.
It's like the same.
I'm just doomed to have the same hair as my dad forever.
There we are at the wedding. We all matched, which wasn't not intentional. It just happened.
Somewhere I have a video still of you and your mom doing the YMCA together.
Oh,
So.
please play that sometime. And there he is.
I think I did sneak it into one of the videos we did in the past, so it gives people a reason to look back. I don't know which one.
I think you have.
Yeah.
Well, here's more of me at my birthday, getting my presents with my grandpa there.
All about you, Morgan. Jeez.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like, what else are you gonna film home movies of? Is your kid?
You're opening up this book and you're like, this isn't a videotape. I don't understand.
Even then.
Here,
this would have been
get your first VCR.
This would have been. Oh well, you can see the Betamax player in the background. That's the Betamax player. That was the beta machine that my parents bought that recorded the episodes of MASH that we're gonna watch.
Find you one of those and reenacting that scene one day.
And you can see my grandpa. I also have his style of the old man sweaters.
Yeah.
I mean, I should get suspenders. I feel like they're the best way to do it. There you go. There's some old home movies.
I enjoyed the art of the wall too.
Oh yeah, those paintings. Though I think those might still be on the wall at my parents' place. At least one of them is. I can't remember where. But that couch is still in my parents' place. It's just been recovered. Like there's a bunch of furniture. The thing that the Betamax player is on is where I put my, like, that's my record stand. Like that's where my record player is on here at our house. It's cool. It's weird seeing the past like that. Like and I remember it being like that. I remember living in that house, even though I only lived there until I was 7, I think is when we moved. So I don't have a lot of time spent there, and that's a long time ago now. But
with my childhood, we moved countries multiple times, so like we just didn't keep stuff.
Yeah.
So that a lot of that sentimental stuff is, and we were not filmers. I think because of the fact that we were moving a lot and changing a lot, that it just didn't become my parents' mentality to do that. All of like the photos that exist of me are usually at theme parks. Theme parks were the one time where they were like, oh, Adam's actually happy. We're not moving anywhere right now. So we're taking a picture of him. There's almost every childhood photo of me is me at some sort of theme park.
I mean, to be fair, that's the only footage of me as a kid that exists. There is no other. He borrowed the Betamax camera from the government for like a weekend and then filmed all of that footage, which amounts to like 40 minutes. And then that's it. That's all the home movies of me.
Saying something like that again still makes it seem like you're the one who's 5 years older here. It makes it sound like you were born in like the late 70s or something. Like,
I mean, I feel like I was sometimes. I definitely feel out of time. And it's because I had older parents, I think probably played a lot into it. I mean, like my dad making me watch MASH, or not making me watch MASH, but I definitely like watched it because he liked it. And I don't think that there were many like, kids that were watching MASH because they wanted to watch MASH. I actually did want to watch it with them.
I have friends, I have these two brothers that I grew up with, and they loved MASH. And they're probably about a year younger than me. And I always thought that was very weird. But then I'm the guy who, will watch Golden Girls and Love Boat for forever. So I can't say anything about that.
There's just something about those old shows, and my dad loved all of that stuff. Like he loved all the his favorite sitcom was Barney Miller. Well, one of his favorite sitcoms. See, I guess
I do like Barney Miller.
I mean, like technically MASH is a sitcom, but I always forget it. Like I never think of it as a sitcom because of its like heaviness in some ways. Like there are full episodes where there's nothing funny about them at all.
Like, no, it did have a laugh track, right?
It did.
But there are famous episodes that do not.
Yeah, there were a couple that didn't on their original airings. Specifically, they didn't have laugh tracks. I'm thinking it's the one you can hear the bullet where they keep talking about how he didn't hear the bullet, that somebody got shot and he didn't hear the bullet. I'm pretty sure that one doesn't have a laugh track.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe the dreams one. There's one in the like later season where everybody has these like totally whacked out dreams. And I'm pretty sure that one doesn't have a laugh track either. There's so many good moments. There's so many good characters. There's so much good writing. It's just unbelievable, and it still stands the test of time. Like it still is technically on television.
Yeah.
You can still catch it on TV, which is amazing because there are not that many sitcoms of that time period that still are in rotation. You know, like there's this stuff in the 50s and 60s that gets replayed, but a lot of like the 70s and 80s, not the same way.
There's also so
MASH
many
keeps going.
episodes that you could just like, you could always have something extra to play that maybe someone hasn't seen.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we watched it a lot after school. When I get home, there'd be 2 episodes on History Television. So I think I watched it mostly then. And that would be, I mean, we must have watched it like twice through. I feel like it just repeated itself as soon as it got there.
Yeah. And then half a dozen spin-off shows that no one remembers or cares about.
After MASH and what Radar had a spin-off show.
So did the first guy who the two doctor who left and went on his own.
BJ Trapper John.
Trapper John.
Yeah, but then that wasn't the same actor, but it was the same character.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Weird. Anyway, that was just a whole different time in television.
Yeah.
But what's these episodes that I'm going to show you, it's cool. Like these are things that he taped. These are his recordings off of his Betamax machine. Then I still have those tapes. They're like, I get rid of almost every tape that I digitized, but I have not thrown away my parents' tapes because he touched this, he put it in the machine, and I want to keep it.
Did he cut the commercials out?
So there are these episodes that have the commercials, thankfully. So these are 1980.
Way to go, Dad.
Like 1983, about 1983. So this is before I was born. These are all original commercials from the 80s.
He recorded them on beta?
Yeah, and he recorded them on beta.
Damn.
In Timmins, so in the north. So these are all like northern commercials, local northern commercials, which will be fun to see. I did want to, I mean, there is a recording of Goodbye, Farewell, Amen, which is the last episode of MASH. That was what I wanted to play, but he cut the fucking commercials out. I was like, come on, like you cut the damn commercials out. It would have been perfect, but no, he cut the commercials out. So even my own father annoys the shit out of me when it comes to cutting commercials out. I get a tape and I'm like, fuck. Oh well, I mean, it is what it is. At least he saved these ones with commercials. But my dad, like I said before, he worked for the Ministry of Natural Resources. He went to school the first year, I think, that the Ontario colleges were open. So back in the day, a bunch of the Ontario colleges were created you could just go to for free. The government paid your way. And he got a job right out of school from that, working for the lands. It was called the Lands and Forests at that time. And then at some point it became the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources. But he started just working on forest fires as a forest fire fighter. And then he moved up to like a crew boss. And so he kind of ran a bunch of different fires. And then he was like a regional manager. And by the time he retired, he was the regional manager for like all of Southern Ontario. So he controlled, or he oversaw all of the operations for the ministry, all in Southern Ontario. And
all those forest fires a couple of years ago must have really annoyed him.
Yeah, it's funny. I would ask him about that stuff, and he would, a lot of the time he'd be just like, I haven't paid that much attention to it in that long, and I think it's just because it changed a lot. Like
well, and also if they were running into shit, he wouldn't want to hear about it.
Yeah. I mean, he was instrumental in a lot of things. I'm gonna show some video clips coming up here that are they're all from like TV interviews or TV documentaries that he was a part of, or in one case a ministry promotional movie.
We'll
But he
just
was
actually play a clip of Firestorm with Howie Long and go, yeah, that's my dad.
that'd be great. He did not like that movie. I can distinctly remember watching that when Howie Long throws the fire blanket over himself as the like forest is like burning. You're like, you couldn't do that. Doesn't make any sense. It's like, thanks, Dad. You couldn't suspend your disbelief for a minute, like whatever. Yeah, he was instrumental in a lot of like technology being implemented, because he was a nerd like I am and really liked technology, and he brought in computerization and stuff to the ministry. And one of these video clips has some really cool technology that he got to work with, that I wish I had have actually been able to see. I may have actually seen it when I was a kid. I just don't remember. All right, so here we go.
Or
So here's
robots.
here's some stuff of my dad on television. Some before I was born and some after. And some of these clips will prove to you that I am definitely his son. Because we look the same.
I don't think you need to go on Maury to figure that out.
So CFCL-TV is the television station in Timmins that my mom also worked at.
This is 83? Is this stuff? When's this?
This is 83.
Okay.
He's so nervous. I could see it. Like he's just like sitting like, I don't want to be doing this.
Wow.
I found this on a tape and he was like, I don't remember doing this.
Ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Midday.
So on the nose of this kind of thing, it feels like it's a Nick Pure skit.
Public interest. We have as a guest Dick White from the Ministry of Natural Resources. Pleasure to have you here, Dick.
Thank you.
And we are going to talk today about forest fires.
I never really put two and two together of your dad's name.
Oh yeah, well that was a whole thing. Matt, think about what it comes up on a telephone.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was great when I was calling friends as a child. So this is what it was like when he started. No, this is well before he started working.
And catch people unawares.
Your dad really was a different generation.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the bass line in this.
So this is from
the helicopter.
This is from a movie called Some Campfire that's like a government produced. There he is, loading up the.
Nice.
Look at his sweet mustache. There he is in the.
To divide the fire into two divisions. The area of highest priority lies between the fire's leading edge and the valuable timber to the northeast.
At that point, he also had a real Steve Marquette thing going on for him. Empire of the Dark
He
guy.
sounds so Canadian
to
here.
establish hose lines on each end of the leading edge,
hose lines.
while water bombers cool down the hot spots.
He had to fly to Toronto to record this voiceover. He went to Technicolor, where I worked for years, and recorded in one of the booths there. And so when I got the job there, he was like, "Oh, that's the same place that I went to record the voiceover for this."
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love those planes. I would love to be on one of those when it lands on the water. I would freak out so much, but it'd be so cool to witness.
I never got to fly in one of these. I've sat in a water bomber before, but I never actually got to fly in one. I've been up in helicopters with him before. That's a long time ago now. He almost, he crashed in a helicopter and he almost died. God, this is, well, before I was born.
That's where we had the large water bombers working in there. And with their support and the crews that were there, we managed to hold it.
Design on that helmet is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what it says. It's probably information about
it's very small words typed on.
Yeah,
okay,
it looks like
like
the same like ticker tape or whatever that I use to put on my tapes.
Right.
Give you directions once you're there, okay? After 2 days, I think our efforts have begun to take effect.
We're no longer shaking hands with danger.
We're managing to starve off fuel, creating the necessary fire break. I'd say that's really fighting fire with fire.
Thanks, Dad. Good old dad jokes.
Bulldozer crews are working lines around the outlying log piles to try and save them. But some of the piled wood has already been lost or is now on fire.
So cool.
Oh, you missed the whole thing.
Fighting forest fires is not only a question of manpower, it's a question of technology, it's also a question of strategy.
Just starting this year in our regional office here in Timmins, we have a lightning locator system. We have an antenna for that.
He's so excited to talk about this.
Just south
I
of
know your dad's
airport
more
here in
animated than the
Timmins.
host
We have
is.
another
Yeah,
one in
very
Shap
much
Road.
so.
And those
But
antennas.
He seems
I
much
watched
more
this
comfortable in that
whole
movie.
interview, and this is the only part where he's like, you could tell, he's like, oh,
through the micro
finally get to talk about the
chips that are inside it. It can discriminate between other electrical discharges. If somebody goes by on their motorcycle, it says, no, that's a motorcycle, that's not lightning, doesn't count that. It is smart enough to discriminate between
that little smile when
inside
he
the clouds,
said something that
clouds,
he's happy
and
with.
lightning that's striking the ground. Well, of course, it's the lightning that's
I can
striking
remember
the
him
ground
doing
that
that
we're
so
interested
much.
in. So when it senses one of those, each antenna plots the distance and the direction to that lightning strike, and then that information is fed into a
we have the
position
same hair.
analyzer here in Timmins.
Everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all
we
really
have a
cursed with
plotter
our father's
and a
hair.
map of the
Like
region,
the hairline
and
is
the
so
little
in
pen
there.
comes
Mine
out and
can't
puts
be
it off
avoided.
on the map where the
A lot of my
lightning strikes.
friends, it's always
So
funny
that
when
gives
meeting
us
their
a
dads for the
pretty
first
good
time, even if they
idea
didn't look like their
when,
dad, they
where,
had their
and
dad's
if we can expect
Yeah.
lightning fires today or tomorrow.
This is from a TVO documentary called On Red Alert.
Each day, the regional duty officers send their operating
This is
plans
like
to the
1986,
provincial
so I
duty
would have been
officer,
alive at
who
this
can
point.
then allocate resources to meet the needs of all the regions.
This would have been in the suit.
Duty officer. All right, just a minute.
duty officer.
Okay, I would
knew
have
you were
the
gonna
two
say that.
15
Of course.
Timmins. We could move
This is
them,
why I'm here.
fairly quickly.
Fire danger.
Here we summarize the strategic plans that are prepared by each of the regions. So on this line we have the plan that's been submitted by the Northwest region, North Central, Northern, and so on. So we can see out in the Northwest, they're predicting 6 to 8 fires caused by lightning.
Only 2 men,
A
though.
couple of man-caused fires. So
Oh,
they're
sorry,
anticipating up to around 10 fires in that region.
Here
today.
next to this board,
To meet
he's giving
that
off a
anticipated problem.
the
He's
guy from
got
Parks and
12
Rec.
crews on
Oh,
red
Ron
alert. He's
Swanson?
got some
Yeah, Ron
water
Swanson,
on
yeah.
Yeah,
red
I mean,
alert,
that's not
and
a
so on.
terrible comparison.
During a normal fire
Not the exact
season,
same.
we can
But
expect to
No,
have
just-
at least
just
400 or
visually.
500
he's
fires
clearly
start
reading,
in the
'cause-
province from lightning.
Oh
In
yeah.
a busier season, we'll expect even more.
He probably couldn't get through it, and they just like, okay, we're gonna write it down.
Yeah.
As fire managers, it's very important that we know when
I don't know, man.
lightning
That's
is
why all the
occurring
stuff that we do
and
is
the
so
areas in which
just
lightning
off
is
script.
occurring.
I know sometimes you try to want to maybe plan a
number
couple
of
things you want to
direction
say, and I
finders
can't do
will
it because if I
detect
do,
the occurrence
it
of a
drives me
strike.
crazy if I don't
That
do it right. So then I
information will be
do
sent
put it up on my
Yeah, yeah.
screen,
to Saint
and you
Marie
can't. There's no way
to
you
our
can't see
position
my eyes do
analyzer.
it.
Yeah, no, that's true.
The position
Yeah,
analyzer
it's
will
so
take the
obvious when somebody's
information
reading
from a
from a
number of
script.
direction
Yeah.
finders.
So look at
and
this.
will
This is
calculate
the
exact location
so
that
it
the
could
lightning
find
strike
a
occurred.
lightning strike anywhere in
This in turn
Ontario.
will be plotted here on
And
our
then it'll put it on the
remote
map.
display processor.
This is in
showing
1986.
the
They had the
lightning that's
technology to
occurred
be able
in
to
the,
do this.
province in
Which
the
boggles
last
me
little
why we
while.
haven't gotten any
Seconds
better,
after a
really.
lightning
Like we're
bolt
still
hits the
having those
ground,
fire
the fire
problems and not
exit
ahead of the
will
game in
be
any way.
Exactly. Well,
What the
but this
fire
was just to
manager is
detect the
looking
fact
for
that there
are
were
areas
lightning
more
strikes.
on the fringes
Right, but there's so many
of a
statistics
large
you can get out of
storm
that,
or small
and
areas.
that's
In a large area, or in a
there's
large
really
storm
like.
area like
And
this,
after that, we were just like,
there's
meh.
been a lot of
it
lightning,
happens.
but one could also assume there's been a lot of rainfall occurred in this area as well.
Oh,
Over on
interesting.
the edge of the storm, however, there's probably been much less rainfall. That's the area where lightning fires are most likely to occur. The same thing with small isolated storms off the edge of the main storm.
You mentioned to me that we call people who set the fires careless, but really they're not intelligent, but they just are not
It's not that
aware
they're
of
idiots.
the consequences of their act.
That's been my feeling for the last while as I look at fires and look at how they've started. It's not really carelessness
Remember, folks,
that I see.
only you can prevent forest
people,
fires.
particularly recreational.
I was going to say, what did your dad think about your favorite forest fire commercial you used to play on the show a lot, where you would tell me like,
You look at their camp.
What do you think it's going to be? I don't think I ever showed that to
tried
him.
to put it out. So they
Too
weren't
bad.
really careless. Like they were taking some care. They were trying to put out their fire. They just didn't really realize how much it takes to put that particular campfire out. And they should have gone back
Sure.
with another payload. Same thing with smokers. I've actually seen a case where you could see a cigarette butt where the fire started, You could also see that the cigarette
I think a
butt was
truck just
flattened.
went
The
by
guy had
outside the
sat on it
studio.
because
That's
it
what
was
that
out.
sounded like.
So actually what we can tell the viewers is that to be very careful in the forest.
Very careful, and just to use some
What's that guy's
common sense
accent?
and look at what's
The
been
host.
going on.
He's
Thank you very much
French
for coming
Canadian,
to
so
our
he'd be
show,
because
Oh,
and
okay.
we
Timmins was
appreciate
full
you
of
coming by
Yeah,
Forest
francophones.
Fire.
sure.
That's it for today, folks. See you.
That's it.
Okay, now I guess what I
Okay,
hear.
so,
But yeah, but it's a
look at
Timmins
this.
francophone. It's a whole different thing.
Hairstyle by the Razor
It's a
Strop. No, the Strop?
Strop.
Laser Strop? But also
Porcupine Art
hairstyle?
Club.
Yeah, Porcupine Art Club. Oh, that's Porcupine is where my parents lived.
They just had
That's
someone
how it
from the Strop come in and just brush both their hairs the same way.
Yeah, probably. Laser Strop. Sorry, I just really like this. The music, so I let it play. There we go.
Yeah, music's great.
So there you go. There's a few clips of my dad on television from different years, some before I was born and some after.
I legit think that's cool. I think those are stuff that has cool stories behind them. Like that's he did some cool stuff.
Yeah, he loved that job. He really did, and he worked really hard at it. And he never tried to push it on me, which is really nice. But he understood, like, when I did my stuff, I think he understood that, like, I was making movies and there's like a similar, we got to get a crew together and go out and figure out how to do this thing. And so he related to that aspect. And I think he found that part of it interesting. I think when I started to lean more towards sitting in a basement, editing stuff, he probably was, oh, I was interested in all of the like going to set and crew stuff. I'm like,
Yeah. Hey, it'll happen again probably at some point too. But if you were to get into the fire stuff, you would have just become Howie Long and been a mockery.
It's true. I would have been a mockery. I can remember like just stories, and like he would talk about his time on the fires, and it sounded like a fun experience. Like it sounded like he legitimately
I bet it was a
enjoyed
fun
doing it.
experience the day after. I bet none of those like when you were, especially in real bad stuff, if you're there and you're like, taking after the fact, fixing up stuff for forests that are messed up and you're doing something helpful. Great. I'm sure that is. But I bet there's lots of like in the moment of the rush. That's imagine telling a firefighter, oh, so what happened last night? Oh, we had this huge building that was totally on fire. We had to go in there and save everyone. Oh, was it fun?
Yeah, no, that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
Apparently he was so
easy to be proud of.
Yeah. When he when he did pass away, my mom let some people from the ministry know, and then they posted somewhere, I guess on a Facebook group. And so that person sent my mom some of the comments, and one of the comments was that, okay, so my dad was, I guess, really good at predicting things. So he predicted that there was going to be 70 fires. And then in the end, there turned out to be 68 fires. So he just went around telling everybody, oh, sorry, you misheard me. It was 68. That's what I was saying. And that is the most my dad thing I could ever think of. Like, he wasn't doing it to correct himself. He was doing it for the joke, but he was doing it in such a dry way that you wouldn't necessarily know if it was a joke.
You just thought he was legitimately denying it.
Yeah, but no, he was just doing it because he thought it was funny to be like, no, I actually said 68. I was right the whole time. Like, what are you guys crazy? Like, I was never 70.
Right.
No, I said 68. Like, that is my dad. And that's my humor. And it's funny now in watching. So like I watch a lot of Letterman on YouTube. And so much of Letterman is my dad. Like there's like a similar comedy, and my dad loves Letterman. Like he could give two shits about any other host, but we would watch Letterman together, and we would both laugh at the exact same things. And I realized it's like that humor is whatever my dad really liked. He liked that like sardonic or you're not, is this really a joke kind of joke? Oh, it is a joke. It's like, yeah. And that's definitely what my humor is. I find that absolutely hilarious. Yeah.
You were raised on sarcasm, Morgan? I would have never guessed.
What a big shock. Me? Sarcasm? It's funny because
it sounds sarcastic.
I wouldn't even really think of my dad as being a particularly sarcastic person. But I guess he was to some extent. He was really good at like throwing in a joke here, and you'd have to like, you'd think about it and you'd be like, wait, oh, that was a joke. And like you kind of walk away sometimes and be like,
yeah.
oh, he was being funny. which I guess is good. I mean, the kind of stuff that he liked. MASH is a prime example of that too. It's a thinker. I think he liked thinking comedy, so he was more into that, and so he would, impart that upon me. It's weird to think of him as gone, like I said, but it's awesome to have all of this stuff, and it's awesome to have all of the things that he imparted on me. Like, I love certain movies and certain TV shows because he did. I love Star Trek because of him. If it wasn't for him, I would never have gotten into TNG, and we watched that every single time it was on. Like, it didn't matter, we would watch it. I love the Stooges. We would watch the Stooges on New VR. They'd have Stooge Fest every Sunday, and we'd make hot dogs on the barbecue, and we'd sit and watch Stooges. And that was a typical Sunday for me and him. He imparted his love of older things on me, even though I don't think he necessarily realized that that's what he was doing. He certainly never understood why I became so obsessed with old things, but it's like like, that's all you showed me was old stuff. And he was just showing things that were contemporary to him. Just, my dad was older than most of my friends' parents were, so I got, the Stooges and MASH and stuff like that, where my other friends were growing up on other stuff, I guess. I mean, like I said, I am my dad's son, and I know that I am, just by so many of the things that I do, and the way that I do them, and the way that I think about the things that I think about, which is why he will always still exist. He's going to be a part of me forever. I will never forget him. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to think of him as gone. But enough of all of this sadness. Before we get to MASH, I thought we should cheer ourselves up.
Because some episodes of MASH might bring us down again.
Yeah, that's true. I think I picked most of the episodes are positive.
Klinger-based episodes.
There's a couple of Klinger moments in these episodes. So yeah, they're nice. Including one episode, it's technically the actual finale. So it's the last episode before Goodbye, Farewell, Amen, where they put all of the they put mementos into what are those, a time capsule.
Oh yeah.
Which my dad always thought was better than Goodbye, Farewell, Amen. He thought that was just a nicer ending to the show. So we get to watch that.
And suiting for all this, I think, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. It is suiting. But before we get to that, I have a just a ridiculous amount of blooper tapes, because one who collects VHS tapes winds up with lots of bloop tapes. And lo and behold, I have a Hollywood bloopers tape, and there were some MASH bloopers on it. So I thought maybe before we get into the laughs of those doctors cutting people up during war, we could watch some bloopers of them cutting themselves up,
putting us in stitches.
Yeah, there you go. And putting themselves in stitches. So here we go. Here's some MASH bloops.
I always really loved when the Golden Girls would appear on Practical Jokes and show their bloopers.
Oh yeah.
You just hear Sophia swear a lot.
So this is the tape, Hollywood Blooperama. I didn't add that. That was already on the tape.
Wow.
I taught horseshoes. The wife needle points. Oh shit.
Oh, we get the whole deal in here. Hang on.
Shit.
Oh, shit.
So that's the second Colonel or Captain, but that's Potter?
Yeah, Colonel Potter. That's Colonel Potter.
The first one was right, but the first one wasn't. That's the first one.
No, that's somebody else.
Oh,
I think that's Colonel Flagg.
Right, okay. The guy who
McLean
died while
Stevenson.
leaving.
Yeah, played oh Jesus.
I don't remember what the first one was called.
Flash, thousands of eyes on me. I run
Him.
across
McLean
that
Stevenson
field,
is the actor, but why can't I remember? Henry something was his character's name.
All snapped a tank. He fakes off.
Jeez.
He went on to have a really terrible sitcom afterwards, like a real family sitcom, which is infamously forgotten.
Well, he left the show because he wanted to pursue other things, and then they just basically they legitimately killed him off.
Yeah. Fits for the show though.
Henry Blake. That's what his name is.
Colonel Potter, I want to see you.
I always preferred Potter.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what
I mean, Harry Morgan is such a great
I know a woman
actor.
who collects clippings of mine class cartridges.
Oh yeah.
I know a woman who collects clippings of mine accident shafts.
Mine accident shafts.
Substances Act, sir.
Really? Burns, some men forget their lines.
That's great.
Substances Act, sir.
Really? Burn some men.
Oh God, Larry Lenville's laugh is horrifying. Oh no, Radar, put your pants up. What are you doing?
Come on, we gotta practice for our pony.
Let's take it to work.
Nope.
I think we better practice again.
But shit, I don't want any trouble. I just want to get laid.
They played fake drunk so well
Now
on this
what?
show.
Got this man walking into the stream 7 miles down the road, Colonel. I would have made him. Ben, I'll be back.
Colonel Blake was our CO. He was okay. From the navel every direction out.
From the navel in every direction out.
The size of that thing.
Halt! Klinger! Who goes there?
The man snake.
Come on, Klinger, put on a dress or something.
Oh, shit. Shit.
Oh, shit.
Shit.
They just played those over again.
Who could resist more
any
shit?
good bloop tape reuses as much footage as it possibly can. I'm pretty sure that was a scimitar too, which makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
So there you go. There's some bloopers from MASH. We're gonna get lots more laughs from Hawkeye and the gang coming up. Thank you, Adam, for joining. I'm sorry that this was perhaps a much more somber episode than we had originally planned, but nonetheless, it was great to have you here. Thank you all for tuning in. And Dad, wherever you are out there, I love you, and I hope to see you again someday.
Oh, wonderful. Actually, I'm going to say before we go with this, you think this was somber? This was us goofing around as much as possible, and this was extremely entertaining.
Good. I'm glad. Now I'm actually crying. That actually did make me cry.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I was like, we're going to cut right that goes into it anyway. So
no, that's okay. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm going to leave it. Whatever. It is what it is.
Awesome, man. Thank you.